If someone told you, yeah, I got a girlfriend, but I can't tell you her name, would you believe they had a girlfriend?
No.
No, probably not.
So if you can't tell me the name of your society and I said you don't even have a society, would you believe me?
I might.
Yep.
Society is defined as a number of people joined by mutual consent to deliberate, determine, and act for a common goal. There's a maxim in law that says if you cannot name something, legally it doesn't exist. So when you read in the newspaper where the courts or the government talks about necessary that this must happen for the good of society, and you can't name your society, what society do you think they're acting for the good of?
Theirs.
Their own.
Have you ever heard of the Law Society of British Columbia?
No.
Sounds familiar, but I don't think I...
Every lawyer belongs to the Law Society. Well, every lawyer in British Columbia is a member of the Law Society of British Columbia.
Yeah.
When you go to court and they start trying to impose, say, the Motor Vehicle Act, Income Tax Act, anything like this, these are the rules that apply to those who are members of the Law Society and those who are not a member of any society. What if I told you could be a member of a society? You could call it, what's your name again?
Jesse.
Jesse. You could call it Jesse Society of Pot Smoking Skateboarding Freaks. If you actually could point to your society, when you went to court, they wouldn't be able to take the existing laws and put it on you.
I like that.
If you had an opportunity, Jesse, to fire the government and exist fully and completely free of all statutory obligations, restrictions, you keep your own money that you earn working up there, would you do that?
What's the drawback?
The drawback, you can't collect welfare. Do you need welfare?
I don't think so.
No? You would have to administer your own affairs when it comes time to pension and whatnot.
You'd be fucking rich if you didn't. If the government didn't take all your money, you wouldn't need welfare. You'd be loaded, basically. I would be.
You believe that, eh? I believe it as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Are you a Canadian? What's your name again?
Darcy.
Darcy? Let's move this over here a little bit.
There.
Darcy, you're a Canadian?
Yep. 100%.
100%. Are you aware Canada is one of the richest countries on the planet?
Yep.
Are you aware that you're one of the owners of this richest country?
Nope.
Who do you think it would belong to if not you?
I don't know.
What if I told you the country of Canada belongs to the people of Canada? Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
That would make sense.
Yep.
What if I told you the country of Canada generates a whole lot of wealth every year and that you have a right to access some of that wealth? I mean, it's your country, it's generating wealth. Why aren't you accessing any of that?
I don't know.
Have you ever gone to the courts and watched all the judges and the lawyers as they leave, see how well they are dressed and see the fancy cars they drive, the big houses they live in? Do you think there's any fucking link whatsoever between you busting your ass for peanuts and then fucking living high on the hog like that?
Yeah, I do.
What is it, do you think?
All the fucking taxes.
Switch it back and forth, guys. What is it?
It's the income tax.
If you could...
Or is it?
It's partly it. They belong to a society and they know it. They can name their society
and they can get the money.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because we're not part of society.
Because imagine a ship, or imagine a seas, and there's a ship on it. We'll call that the Law Society of British Columbia.
Yeah.
That's a ship on the seas. Now we'll call your society another ship. What's the name of your society?
Shamboozla.
You don't even know. So therefore you're just flotsam on the sea. They can come by, pick you up, and impose their will on you and say, I'm saving your life because you're just afloat on the sea.
We gotta find a ship to get on, dude.
What if you could actually simply create one? I'll tell you what happened to me. I was in court. I got letterhead. And it says on it, champion, advocate, director of the Elizabeth Annie Lane Society. And when the judge got to the Elizabeth Annie Lane Society, and she refused to put it in the record. I told her, keep reading. She wouldn't do it. And the reason I realized at that point, zoom on him, he's getting the understanding. This is why she didn't do it, dude. If she had mentioned into the record that I was a member of another society, the only statutes, the only rules she could apply to me are the rules from that society. The reason they can take all these other rules and apply them to you is because you cannot point to an existing society that you're a member of, and therefore the law society gets to treat you like a child of the province. You have no right to determine the rules, and yet they're imposed upon you. How are you not a child?
Oh man, how do you make one of these societies? That's what I want to know.
A society is a number of people joined by mutual consent to deliberate, determine, and act for a common goal. All you have to do is get a number of people joined together with that consent, serve notice on them, and say, listen, don't ever treat me like I'm not a member of any society. Here's my society, here's our mission, here's our vision, here's our rules, this is what you will bind me to.
But we got the people.
There are 3 ways to break the law. Now, the government and the Law Society wants you to believe that there's 10,000 fucking ways. You know, people in Canada right now are suffering under more statutes, regulations, orders, and bylaws than the people in communist China or communist Russia ever suffered under. Are you aware of that?
Well, increasingly, yeah. Everywhere you go, you can't get away without getting a ticket.
Yeah, wait, I had some other questions.
Talk more about income tax.
The income tax.
It was instilled in the war, right? To take our money.
Do you have a
fund the
social
war.
insurance number?
Yeah, but I lost it and I haven't given it out in like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Your social insurance number means you're an agent of the federal government. You are an employee of the federal government, and that's why they get to treat you like an employee. When people start arguing about the Income Tax Act, it is not a citizen bitching about the government, it's an employee bitching about their
boss,
employer.
yeah.
Stop being employed by them, tell them to fuck right off.
Yeah.
We have that power, but no one, you know what they rely on? We're so hungry for the benefits. When we're 16, we want our driver's license so we can go get laid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of that, we don't even read the Motor Vehicle Act. We just want to go get our license. You sign it away without even questioning.
Well, when's the last time anybody read anything they signed? All that fine print and all that crap in there?
Dude, if you, the moment you sign something, you are making oath. So don't sign anything. It's not an autograph. If you're signing something and the government is getting you to do it, they're using a slider. Here, slide, slip on the... It'll sound just like a piece of paper on a counter. Shh. And they want you to pick it up, sign it, slide it back, and now they have authority over you. And here's their trick. They'll tell you, you must do this. They aren't telling you you're obliged to do it. They're telling you, I need you to do this so I can claim authority over you. If I tell you, you must come to my party through the front door, does this generate an obligation to attend the party, or does it define the way to enter the party and give me authority over you?
Yeah.
They're fucking tricky, dude. You wouldn't believe how tricky they are with some of their words.
Holy
With the
fuck.
driver's license.
Here's what I want to know, though. We're looking 20 years in the future. We're either heading for a police state that is going to screw us all, or we got to wake up and take control of our country. What do you think people need to do?
Wake up.
Yeah, wake the fuck up.
Open your fucking eyes,
People
man.
are so blind to
It's gonna be
just
a war.
like try and talk to your parents about any of this.
Yeah.
They're like,
There you go. There's the...
Oh, you're making it up.
they have no idea what you're talking about at all.
If you could say anything to the cops out there, the peace officers who for the most part tried to be good people, come and keep the peace, but are now being treated like they're just corporate policy enforcement officers. If you could say anything to your brothers, your cousins, the people you went to school with who are now cops, what would you say to them?
Same
I don't
thing,
know what
wake
they're-
up.
Yeah.
Who are you fighting for?
Yeah.
Who are you fighting for? I think it's like a war on for everyone's mind, right? Your either mind's gonna open up and you're gonna see this side, or you're gonna think that the government's still helping you out. And the only way to get people's minds is through information, right? Like, you just...
Do you trust the government?
No. You're a fool if you trust the government. What have they ever said to you? No, the government never looked you in the eye and told you something.
I've never even met the government.
Yeah,
I met
why
a
would
bunch
you
of people
trust them?
claim to work for the government, but when I say what does they look like, they can't define them.
No. See them on TV, but those are just puppets, right?
And they're not even the government. They're
Yeah,
just people
they're just
working
being
for the
controlled
government.
by the government.
One of the things that we should understand is there is a thing called the legal fiction. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like the government.
Oh.
They refer to the government like it's something that actually exists. But you can go and you can find everyone who works for the government, and not a single one of them will be able to point to them and say, yes, this is who the government is.
No one's ever met them.
I've worked for Jim. I know Jim. I can point Jim out from a crowd. These other people, however, they work for entities that do not actually exist. It's a legal fiction. Now, there's a function in law that says the law can give rise to a fiction. The fiction cannot give rise